Charles from GoBlackKnights.com.
First of all, good afternoon, Coach, and hopefully had a great year coming into this first quarter of the season, if you will. This is obviously Charles Greaves with GoBlackKnights.com, and obviously there are so many subjects to talk about as you head into spring ball. But my first question is a twofold question surrounding the 2024 offense. Can you speak to the January quote-unquote demotion and subsequent departure of offensive coordinator Drew Thatcher, and then what led you to give that responsibility to Coach Wordley?
Sure. When we went through the 2022 season, as we were coming out of spring of 2022, and we got word that the blocking rules had changed in terms of the block below the waist, really kind of going into that season, felt like we needed to evaluate what we were doing, what we could do, and how much that rule change was going to affect us. Frankly, I felt like it affected us significantly enough that we were going to need to make some changes. Just, I guess, not necessarily philosophy, but our approach, which is why I hired Drew. Felt like going to a more gun-based option system would both fit us from a philosophy standpoint and make us different enough from everybody else that we would still continue to have an element that would I guess equalize the playing field for us, which is always what we're trying to find as an equalizer. I was really excited about it and certainly felt good about it going through spring and preseason camp. And then as we got into the season, obviously very disappointing to open the season at ULM, a team that we had frankly beaten the brakes off of the year before. We scored 52 points and scored 6 on offense in the opener. It wasn't a great start. But then 2 games later, we played at UTSA, who I think has an outstanding football team and very well coached team, talented team. And I thought we played extremely well. And that gave me some hope that it was going to be an offense we could execute and do well with. And obviously we had a tough stretch playing so many Power 5 games and playing Troy, who's a 2-time league champion. And then going into the Air Force game, played pretty well against Air Force, certainly in the first half. But I never felt like all year this confidence that I'd had all those years running the under center stuff that we were controlling games on offense, controlling the clock and limiting possessions for the other team. And just didn't feel like we were doing that as well. And just realized that the under center system that we had, that gave us a tremendous value in that we could be really different and unique. Now, the blocking rules still remain the same. And what we've got to do is find a way to execute our under center plays without taking advantage of the blocks below the waist. And I think there are some elements to that original scheme that we ran for forever. I mean, I started coaching this offense when I was a graduate assistant in 1989. And then from 1997 until this past season, that was the offense we ran and I was a part of. I was an offensive coach for Paul Johnson, and it's the offense we ran at Georgia Southern and here. And not that we didn't have elements of the gun, because we have, but we were an under center team that ran some gun. And we won a lot of games. And I felt like we always controlled the clock and controlled the games on offense. And a year ago, in November, this past season, when we were playing Coastal Carolina or getting prepared for Coastal Carolina. I just felt like we needed to have something to equalize the playing field against them. It's a very talented football team, a team that had won a lot of football games. And I mean, they're talking college football for the last 3 seasons or more. And so to try to equalize the playing field, I felt like we just needed to take a different approach to that game. And we got under center, and obviously they weren't prepared for it. That helped us, but felt like we just controlled the game and controlled the clock, and it felt like Army football. And I just before that game, I just started to feel like we were going to need to have a balance. We were going to need to have some under center and some gun. I don't know that we can be exclusively one or the other, but I think there's some value in being able to do both. And we learned a lot this year with Coach Thatcher's system, and he's a really good football coach. And obviously the success that he had at Nebraska Kearney, and I mean that's just some great stuff. And unfortunately, just don't know that it was wholesale a great fit for who we are and who we need to be, who we can recruit, and how we need to be different and equalize the playing field. So I decided we would make a change. If we're going to run under center option, we're going to be an under center team. We need somebody with under center experience, which he doesn't have, certainly not in our system. And so if you look at our staff and you consider the options that we have for under center coaches, there's not a lot of people in the country doing it. And some of the best coaches coaching under center option football are right here on our staff. And Cody Worley's an outstanding coach. He's been with us since the 2020 season. Done a great job coaching our quarterbacks. He called the game in the Liberty Bowl against West Virginia and did a really good job for us when we're going through the COVID season. And Coach Davis, who was the coordinator at the time, couldn't travel to the game because of COVID. Cody did a great job, and he's prepared and ready, and just felt like that was going to be the move we needed to make, to have somebody with the under center experience as well as the gun experience going through this season with Drew, but also the things we've done in the past and the experience that he's had previously. He's a terrific football coach, and I know he's going to do a great job meshing those two systems together. And so we did offer Coach Thatcher an opportunity to stay on the staff and be a position coach. He chose not to do that, and so he's left the staff, and we wish him well. But we're excited about moving forward and getting started with spring practice tomorrow. And obviously, there's some skills and fundamentals that are going to be very familiar to our older guys, and there's some things that we'll do that we're going to add, obviously, with the under center stuff that's going to be new to some of our guys, our very young guys. But I'm very confident that our guys will pick up the under center stuff again, and that it's a little bit like riding a bike, and we'll be able to transition. And really, our goal is to try to mesh both, what we had done in the past and what we did this past season, and find the best elements that fit us.
Great. And speaking about going forward, some of the loudest questions that we hear from the fans on GoBlackKnights.com is surrounding offensive personnel, especially around some of your key players, positionally speaking. Where will we anticipate players like Kanye and Terrell lining up offensively? And is there a possibility that Hayden Reed will return to the program?
Just in terms of Hayden Reed, I don't know at this point. He's he's decided to step away on his own, but we've had some conversations with him. Perhaps he will return. We're not certain. But Kanye and T-Rob are both outstanding players and guys that we're foolish if we don't find ways to get them the football. So that there will be times where they'll both be lined up in the backfield together. There'll be times where we'll be the traditional under center option look, and T-Rob will play the slot, and Kanye will play the single back, the tailback position. Obviously, with the gun stuff, there'll be formations where there's a single back. It could be either one of those guys or other guys we got as a single back. And it may be a time where we've got 2 or 3 backs back there with the quarterback and the gun. And those 2 being the backs, or one of them paired with another back, or 2 others. So I think what our system will allow us to do is position those players to be able to handle the ball. And we obviously want to get the ball in their hands.
Great. My follow-up and final question is, what are the biggest things that you're looking for or looking to accomplish this spring?
I just want to improve as a team. I want to get our young guys a lot of reps so that they gain the reps and the experience fundamentally, blocking, tackling, taking care of the ball exchanges, kicking the ball, the special teams elements. We work on all of it in the spring. And so I really want to give those guys a lot of repetition so that they can get a little closer to those older guys, to those veteran players. We got veteran players that played a lot of football, and they've taken not only practice reps, but game reps. So they likely are not going to need as many in terms of the individual stuff as some of the young guys to keep their skills where we need them to be, and to provide depth, and to have guys that can get into games when maybe a starter goes down or an older guy is it needs a rest, or whatever the reason. We got guys that we're very confident we can put in a football game, and there's not going to be a drop off. And so getting those reps this spring are going to be important for those guys. And always just building the culture and building the toughness of our team, and building a group of guys that believe in each other. When key leaders like we had this past fall leave the locker room and they're gone, other guys have to step up. So I know that some of those roles are going to start to take shape, and I'm excited about that too.
All right, Coach, thank you very much, and best of luck this year.
Thanks, Charles. Good to see you.
Ken
Likewise.
McMillan, go ahead.
Hey, Jeff. Ken McMillan, Times Herald Record.
Mm.
You just mentioned leaders. Have you decided on captains for next season yet, or is that at the end of the spring?
That'll be into the spring.
Okay. As far as the quarterback position go, how much of a factor is this change of offense back for Bryson Daly? Because he was under it for 2 years, but didn't play as much. Last year, he had to do this new system, and now he's going back to the old. Does that affect him a lot?
No, I think he'll be fine. And you had the other guys on the depth chart, Cale Helms, Dwayne Coleman. I think all those guys will be fine. Mitch Bolden played in the under center system in high school. His dad's a longtime option coach. He's done it. Those guys will be fine.
How about the depth behind Bryce? And you lost a couple quarterbacks to transfer portal or departure. What's your thoughts on developing quarterback depth?
I think we're going to be fine in terms of our depth. Obviously, we had the 2 freshmen that were very talented. We were excited about, but I'm really excited about Cale Helms, and we moved Zach Mundell back over to quarterback. I think his skill set. He's a dynamic athlete. I'm excited to see him go through spring. We'll get him a lot of reps, especially at the quarterback position. We're going to be repping some of those guys that, not Bryson Daly, other guys, to get them reps and get them ready to go. Bryson played a lot of football for us this past year. He's a good leader. He's a tough player. He gained a lot of confidence going through this season. So really we want to prepare those other guys and get them ready to play. And so that I'm looking forward to as well.
And then back to Cody Worley. You know, we know that he's had some experience in the program, but what do you like about this guy? What kind of qualities and brains does he bring to this job?
He's a really good teacher. If you had the opportunity, which you won't, but if you had the opportunity to sit in his classroom and listen to him teach and watch film, he's very detailed, very fundamental oriented, and he's confident and ready to do it. I coached for Paul Johnson for 13 years, and I was with him and Mike Seawalk and Brian Bohannon and all of us together for just year after year. And you just get to a point where you know the offense, and you've listened to the position coaches, and you listen to the guys that know it and teach it and have to problem solve and watch film, and you just grow in your readiness to be able to call it, to fix problems, to help other coaches, and that's what he brings. It's a lot of experience, not just here at West Point, but he was on the Kennesaw State staff prior to coming here. Worked with Brian Bohannon, who's obviously one of those coaches I worked with for all those years under Paul Johnson. He coached the Citadel; they were an option team there, so he's got years of experience in this offense, and being the quarterback coach. You're so in tuned to the problem solving that goes on as a play caller, and it's just different at that position than it is any other position. So I'm just excited that we got him on our staff, and he was right here, and I know he'll do a great job.
Just to follow there, does going from quarterback coach to OC, is that like a more natural transition than any other coach moving to another position?
I think so. Like I said, that's where the problems need to get solved, is in the quarterback room, and you visualize the entire scheme and all the other 10 players from that position. You're controlling the chess pieces, and so just having to teach that position and coach that position naturally, you're teaching a more comprehensive view of the offense, and he's done a good job of that with our quarterbacks. Our quarterbacks are, they understand the scheme, they understand what other people are responsible for, why we're calling plays that we call, why we have certain tags to plays because of fronts or defenses or looks, and so he's been our quarterback's coach. He's going to continue to be our quarterback's coach. He'll just call the plays as the quarterback's coach.
Thanks, Jeff.
Sal, go ahead.
How you doing, Sal?
Hey, Coach, how are you?
Sal,
How
Good.
are you? I apologize there. Hey, real quick on the quarterback situation. Is there anybody else that might be moving over there? Because do you have enough there to have a spring practice? Because it seems like you have 5 guys, including Bryce.
Five's plenty.
Okay.
There's a lot of places going through spring ball with 2 or 3, so we're kind of fortunate from that standpoint that we've got 5, and that's I don't want there to be a really long line of guys there. We need to develop the ones that we have. There'll be a couple of new freshmen that will join them. I'm not yet at liberty to talk names or anything like that, unfortunately, that being an NCAA rule, but there's 2 quarterbacks that are going to join that group in the fall, and so it won't be an unmanageable number, and I think that's important.
With the talked about a little bit about the offensive talent and guys either moving on, transferring, or graduating. You had some big graduation losses. Who are you looking to step up in the spring at maybe the wide receiver spots or the running back spots?
We've got guys coming back that have played a good amount of football, and that's college football. You lose guys to graduation, and that's part of it. But at the wide receiver spot, Casey Reynolds, who's actually playing lacrosse right now. What a big win they had last night at Syracuse. That was awesome for those guys. And he's getting to play a good bit and starting some games. And so really, really happy for him and proud of him. But we'll be anxious to get him back this summer. Liam Fortner, who's played, Toby Olawale. I think both of those guys are going to be good players at that position. And then just developing the depth there at that position with some younger guys. And we'll have to have some guys that'll really learn to play and become players at that position for us. But that's that's just what we do. That's what we got to do is bring along those younger guys, and there'll be some names that show up hopefully at that position that didn't play a whole lot last year, but will help us and make some good plays for us on the perimeter. Sorry, you asked about another position and I forgot.
Like running backs, like the backfield, so to speak.
Sure.
I know Miles Stewart back, but who are some of the younger guys maybe you're taking a look at?
So there obviously Kanye Udo, and he's played a lot for us, and he like Bryson Daly, because he got so many game reps and he's got so many practice reps. We're going to try to get some of those other guys, some of those reps to get them closer. But I'm excited about some young guys like Carson Smith, Jordan Owens, Jake Rendina. Those guys are probably more like the B-back type position guys that we've had in the past, the Andy Davidsons and Darnell Woolfolks and Kalen Holt, those type guys. But then we've got some slot back type guys. David Clerk is a guy we're excited about. Some veteran players like Jarrell Dixon, who's just got a great opportunity now that he's going into his senior year, and hopefully we can keep him healthy. And so there's some guys like that have been in the program, and some new guys that hopefully are going to step up and make some plays for us. And I mentioned Zach Mundell moving to quarterback, but if he's not in the top 2 at quarterback, he'll be in the top group of slot backs. So playing the quarterback position will kind of allow him to learn all those positions and learn the scheme. But he's been in the program, and he's played in the under center stuff, and he's played in the gun stuff. So he's got experience doing both. And so he's a veteran player that I expect will find a place for him to get in the games and help us.
Will your base offense be the under center stuff, or you are kind of open to that?
Yeah, I anticipate us being an under center team that runs gun, not the other way around. So we probably moved more toward the under center stuff the last couple of years with Brent than we had earlier, and certainly Georgia Southern. And there's been some times in my tenure here at Army where we ran more gun than we did other years. But I anticipate we'll do both. And I don't know how much of each. I think that'll be determined on our confidence in what we're doing, the quarterback, the skill players that we have to be able to do the things we want to do. But I want to control the game on offense by running the football. And whatever we need to do that, then that's what we're going to do. It's how we've built our program and the success that we've had here. And I think that's important for us at Army to be able to do that. If we're going to have success, I think we got to be able to run the football and control the clock.
Thanks for your time, Coach.
Thank you, Sal.
Ken Fraser, go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon, Coach. Good to see you, and good to see the season starting up again. I just want to follow up on Sal's point about difference under center offense versus the gun. I remember we talked after the Coastal game last year. You said it's very difficult to run both types of plays in the same offense. Do you feel like, with more time and a full camp and then August practice, you can implement both kind of plays into your offense?
Oh, I don't have any doubt that we can do both. I think we have to. What we can't do is do everything that we did last year and everything that we did in the past and have two systems, and we just say, okay, we got enough time to put two offensive systems in. It's got to be a system that incorporates both. And that was my point after the Coastal game, is that, we didn't have our entire under center option game in, but we had 1 week that we prepared for it. And frankly, in that week, we ran 2 gun plays to every 1 under center play during the week of practice. We practiced gun far more that week than we did under center. I didn't anticipate that we were going to stay under center the whole game, or that we could, but just as it turned out, we were able to do that. And so moving forward, we've got to figure out what are the best pieces of both, and have a system that takes the best from both. And we don't expand and try to get the package too big. We can't do everything. Can't do everything we did under center in the past. We can't do everything we did this past year in the gun. We got to find the best elements and mesh those together, and plays that are under center and gun that complement each other.
Very good. You got a number of teams joining the American Conference that you haven't seen, like Florida Atlantic, UAB, East Carolina. You see North Texas, but probably different coaching staff, Notre Dame. How is it preparing for a new set of teams that you haven't played in a while or recently? And especially now that there's so much changeover in rosters because of the transfer portal, you don't know what players are going to be there in the fall.
I think your last point there is probably the most important point. Is that teams are different every year, and teams will continue to be different every year. It's a good league, and there's a lot of talented football players and a lot of great coaches, very well coached football teams in that league. And we have played some of those teams, but there's just not going to be a lot of carryover because of the fact that the staffs have changed, players have changed, and so it'll be a new venture about every week for us this season. Obviously, the academies and the carryover there; those will be teams that we'll have familiarity with them, and them with us. UTSA, having played them the last 2 years, what a tremendous football program they've got, and Coach Traylor and the job he's done. But the other schools you mentioned, though we've played North Texas and Temple and Rice, we haven't played their teams that they have right now. And Coach Bloomgren has been at Rice for a good while. I mean, I think we last played them in 2019. And I just think he's a tremendous football coach. Tough, hard-nosed, physical, is kind of his MO and his philosophy, much like us. And when we played each other in 2019, that thing came down to the wire. We scored really late in the game to beat them by a touchdown. But I wrote him a note after the game, just telling him how much I admired his football team and just what a great job I thought he was doing, and he still is. But there's a lot of great coaches in that league, and we'll face well-coached teams, and we're going to face talented football players, and so it'd be a unique challenge every single week.
I got one question for you. If you go to the business page, you can't see an article today that doesn't include how artificial intelligence is being applied to so many areas of business, marketing, data management, and so on. And I know, in football, you've got a lot of data, and you're trying to prepare what the other team might do and what you may do. And is artificial intelligence, is that something that's being looked at for college football?
If it is, I wouldn't know anything about it. I'm old school, Ken. I watch the film and practice fundamentals and try to build a good, tough football team. And perhaps there is a place for AI in college football. And if there is, I'm going to embrace it and explore it. And that's something that I'm not resistant to change. I'm not resistant to technology and new methods. I don't know anything about that one, but there's still a lot of people don't use analytics and don't believe in it. And I fully believe in it and have embraced it. And I feel like it's helped our football program and our team. And there's a lot of talk about the communications piece in the helmets for players. I'm in favor of it. Never done it before, obviously, but I'm in favor of it. Using devices on the sideline to be able to show still shots or film, whatever they allow. I'm fully on board with that and want to use that technology. We put GPS units in the shirts of our players to track their movements and high-speed distance and the load on their bodies. That's technology that's improved player safety and if our biggest, the most important thing to us is the safety and health and welfare of our players. So we're going to use every bit of technology we have to be able to maintain that level of safety and care for our players. So there's a lot of things, and maybe AI will make its way in. I'm not sure how, but I'll be intrigued to see if it does.
Thanks, Coach. Good to see you.
You as well.
A couple more, everybody. Joe from Underdog Dynasty.
Hey, Coach. Good afternoon. Couple questions for you. The main one being, we saw the report from Yahoo earlier this week about potentially bowl season moving up a couple of weeks to coincide with the weekend that's traditionally just been the Army-Navy game. We saw comments from Mike Buddy on that. Curious if you had any initial thoughts on what's been proposed there and that sort of thing.
I read several of the articles too, and I'm not making those decisions. I'm going to play whenever they tell us we can play. When they schedule the games, we intend to show up. So whatever happens with that and works itself out, so be it. I think a lot of that is driven obviously by the playoff, and so if that expands and they figure that out and what they want to do, then maybe it'll change what the end of the season looks like. But for right now, I know what next season is going to look like, and that's all I'm concerned with.
So not particularly important to you that game's the only one that day or in that time slot or whatever it may be.
I hope that we'll always be able to keep the Army-Navy game exclusive to a Saturday by itself. But in the articles that I read, it mentioned moving everything up a week, clearing the calendar on the first weekend in December, which is when the game used to be, and then starting the playoffs maybe the following week. I hope that we'll be able to keep that Saturday to ourselves. If we can't, then I'm not sure it really matters what weekend we play the game. If we're going to have to share the TV with everybody else, but I think that's one thing that's really special about that game is it's the only FBS game on TV, and if you're a college football fan, then you're going to turn that game on and watch it. And this past season, I think there were over 9 million people or something like that watched the game. That's pretty incredible. What a great opportunity. It's special for this program and this school, and I think special for our players, and probably one of the reasons that coming to school here appeals to young men who want to play college football, so they get to play in that game.
On that note, what does it feel like coming back in the building for spring ball after a Navy win and/or winning the CIC?
We're really proud of our team, last year's team, for getting those victories that got us the trophy, and it was fun to celebrate. But that's long behind us, and that's not going to win us any football games this year. It doesn't get us any starter points in those academy games. We're going to have to fight our butts off and try to earn the victory again this year. So I'm proud of that team, the 2023 team, for winning that, but that has nothing to do with the 2024 team. It's a new season. There's a lot of new faces, a lot of guys we're going to have to count on that are on our roster right now that didn't factor in last year. And so we got a lot of work to do starting tomorrow, and I'm excited about that. I can't wait to get on the practice field. I love being out there, and I get tired of waiting. I don't ever get tired of football. I just get tired of waiting for football to show up again. So I'm glad it's here.
Last question for me. I won't keep you from it for too much longer then. On the defensive side of the ball, Caleb Fortner, I know, is one guy that everyone's looking forward to seeing, his upcoming season and that sort of thing. Besides him, who are some other names on the defensive side of the ball that you expect to be leaders for this group this year?
Uh, I think some of the obvious guys that have played like Max DiDomenico, Kyle Lewis, those are guys that have played a lot of football and stand out. They're veteran players. They've earned the respect of their teammates. But there's guys like Jack Latour who's played, Trey Sophia, Elo Mendoza who got a lot of time as a freshman. There's going to be some guys like that maybe some names that haven't been as much in the spotlight in the past, but will be this year. Like, just how those guys came to be household names for us in this building. Guys that have started, they started out as freshmen, many of those guys start out on the scout team, and so I'm looking forward to the spring. And the spring has a way of kind of revealing who those guys at each position are that are going to step up. And we made a few position changes. We some of those guys that play safety, Casey Larkin, moved him to the Apache position or the nickel position. So just to try to see if that would be a good fit for him. Stephen Nadozi from corner to safety. And that doesn't mean they're permanent moves, but we're going to get a look at those guys and see if it's a good fit. So those are things we learn and find out in the spring as well that we look forward to and just seeing how all that takes shape.
Excellent. Thank you for your time, Coach.
Thank you.
Last one to close the day, Seth Mendelson.
Hey, Coach, how you doing? Good to see you. I think the guys covered most of the bases, but my one question is, I'm looking at the schedule, and it's different. And forget about the teams you're playing, but also you have 3 bye weeks, one each month, and then you finish, if you're fortunate enough to get to the championship game, with 4 straight games going into, including Navy, and hopefully a bowl game after that. Do you think by the bye weeks being moved around like that, does that help your team, hurt your team?
I like to have some bye weeks built in. There are times in the season, and it doesn't always correlate with the bye week. There's sometimes where you just feel like, man, we could use a bye week right now for health or whatever the reason. But I think it's good to have those built in. And so I think if you look at the first one, coming out of preseason camp is physical and it's taxing, and you want to kind of build yourself back up so you're fresh and ready to go for the opener. We play a couple of games, we got a bye week, and maybe it'll be a good time to just take a breath and get ready for a stretch there. And I think we got 5 games and then a bye week before Air Force, which I like having a bye week before the academy games. They are the most important games and the biggest games on our schedule. And we don't apologize for saying that. Those are big football games. So to have an extra week is nice. And we haven't always had that, but I'm glad we have it this year. And then we have a bye week before Notre Dame. And then we'll see what happens with the rest of the season. But I hope we've got a chance to talk about playing the first weekend in December in the championship game. But I mean, there's a lot of things got to happen to be able to get there. And there's a lot of great football teams in that league, and all of them have the same goals to get into that game and play in that game. And certainly that'll be a goal of ours too. But we got a lot of fish to fry and a lot of challenges along the way before we ever start thinking about that.
My last question is, do you think joining the league is creating some enthusiasm among the players at Army? It's a whole different ball game here.
It's another opportunity to play for a championship and to measure yourself among a group of teams. Obviously, we've got the Commander-in-Chief's trophy, and that will always be the pinnacle of Army football is winning the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. The history of those games, that trophy, what it means to our institution, to the respective services that we represent. The Commander-in-Chief's trophy is really, really special. And so I'm happy that we have that to play for every year. But this is also another opportunity to play for a championship, and that's exciting. It's a challenge for us, and I think competitive people like challenges. So our players are excited about it. But it's, playing a football season, whether you're affiliated with a conference or not, if you approach it, I think, in a healthy way, you're not looking at the end of the season. You're looking at what's right in front of you, the next game, and if you make each game, the next game, the most important game of the year, then you prepare to do your best and play your best, and hopefully our guys will do that, and that our staff and I'll do a good job of keeping our team focused on just that. What's the next game?
Thank you very much, Coach.